is your Twitch, Balto?
I'm about to link it in just a moment.
You guys don't do Man 1 Archie for the fun room, do you?
I think last week we cleared, but it was normal.
Oh, okay.
Is it heroic this week?
We will do heroic this week, yeah. Well, depending on what we get. Like, if I have a bunch of lower gear people, probably not, but if we have a middle ground of it, we'll try more heroic. If you're looking at the Twitch, you should be seeing 2 Warcraft log parts open. Again, you may hear, if you have Twitch open, you will either want to mute Mumble or Twitch. That way you can hear me on one but not both, because if you have to listen to my voice twice, you'll probably go insane. I would. I'm going to go ahead and get started. The main thing that I want to talk about tonight are going to be Raider mentality and how to assess your logs. For Raider mentality, what I'm talking about is a lot of times people come to raid maybe not the most prepared. Like, people come wanting to progress, but they don't really bring the mentality to do so. You know, you'll come, you'll start talking about, whatever you were doing earlier in the day with people. It's chit chat time, fun time, which is fine if that's the kind of raid environment you're in. But a lot of the teams in this guild are trying to be progressive and actually get things done during those hours. So if you try to get this stuff out of the way early, because it's going to be annoying to your raid leader if you do not. But on top of that, while you're in the middle of a raid, you need to be giving 100% attention to everything you're doing. And by that I mean, like, if you're in the middle of a boss fight, from the movements you make to how quickly you're pushing your buttons is going to make a difference, at least in a little bit of damage or a little bit of healing output or anything like that. If you ever notice yourself like stutter stepping in a fight, trying to get into the perfect spot, maybe you weren't thinking enough to get to the correct spot to begin with. This will drastically affect your damage or healing output or anything like that. So these are things that you need to kind of pay attention to. A lot of times people are caught off guard by mechanics simply because they're not paying enough attention. It's happened to me. It's going to happen to everyone. You're going to have it happen at times, but you need to limit it. Um, the main thing that I noticed that people don't really get with the raiding mentality is they will chalk up mistakes to RNG or just bad luck. This is probably the biggest mistake that people are going to make in this game, because everything is scripted. Every single thing that happens in this game is scripted. Most of the bosses are not random anymore. Like, things will happen a little randomly, but most of it happens based off of boss percentage or timings. This means that every single thing that happens can be predicted. You may get caught off guard once, but if you chalk it up to randomness and you don't try to learn from it and take personal responsibility to fix it, you're probably going to make the same mistake again. Every time that people say it's RNG or, just bad luck or whatever in my raids, my first reaction is I want to yell at them. Why? Because they're not taking responsibility to fix it. They're just brushing it off. They're not letting it affect them. This is normally the wrong mentality to take. Because, like I said, you can avoid almost everything that happens if you're thinking about it. Like, there's very few scenarios where you can't. One example I'll give is on our Manoroth kill this week. Infinica ended up getting knocked off the edge because he was taking an ability that he got, Doom. The purple circles, if you do it on heroic, that happens early on in the fight. Those happen throughout the entire fight on mythic. And he got this during the middle of the fight. He took it to where he was supposed to, but he didn't think clear enough. Why? He got pushed off with Shadow Force because he got it right after it blew up. If he had been thinking a little more, he could have moved over to the pillar where he already was to let it blow him against the pillar instead of off the edge. This is what I'm talking about with not thinking enough. That simple extra step to the left could have saved him from being killed for halfway through the fight. Those are the kind of things that people really need to get in the habit of. Even I kind of chalked that up to bad luck at first, but after I started thinking about it, it was like, no, he could have stepped over. It would have been a lot easier, and he would have lived. But, people are quick to chalk it up a mistake to just randomness or bad luck. And they never think of how they're going to fix it because, it's just something that happened and we don't have to worry about it. that is probably the biggest issue that people have while raiding. And people really need to get out of that habit. Like, really, really, really need to. So, like, if you make mistakes, don't chalk it up to just random issues or a random thing that's going to happen once in a blue moon. Because you honestly can improve on everything that you do wrong in a boss fight. And I mean everything, especially without their scripting the bosses anymore. That's like the main thing at the moment for the raiding mentality kind of thing. What I'm going to really dive into is log analysis, which is why you're staring at a bunch of pictures of my browsers open. So you can either follow along with exactly what I do, or if you want, you can pull up your own logs and do it for your own logs with another character that you're looking at. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my logs and compare myself to another shaman. I'm going to go with Rizzo from Vodka, and I'm going to look at the Archimon fight, because Archimon is a fight where, honestly, I don't do as much damage as I'd like to. I normally parse in the middle if I'm lucky, or towards the bottom of it right now. And I like to see why. This is something that if you're looking at your performance for any raid team that you're on, trying to figure out what you're doing wrong, you can apply the same things that I'm about to go through to anything that you're looking at, always. So, over here on the left side of the screen, I'm going to be looking at mine. On the right, I'm going to have Rizzo's up. Again, when you look, you can either type in Balto for the spot, or you can type in your own character, and you can look for whoever you want. And I'll actually show you how to look for other players as well. It brings up this long list of different Baltos and whatnot. I'm going to pick the one that's me, Balto on Proudmoore. And as you see, you go up to the top there and select the boss you want. I'm picking Archimon. I'm going to go with the most recent one, which was on January 12th. Now, the way that I found to pick Rizzo, I've known of him for a long time. He's a very prominent elemental shaman that's been around for quite a long time. But if you're looking for somebody to compare yourself to, I'll show you how to do that on the right side here. Give me one second. Let me unbind my key on Mumble and just have it pick up my voice to make it a little easier, because otherwise I'm going to end up backing a bunch and it's going to drive me nuts.
Can you post the link in Mumble again, Balto?
Yep, give me 1 second.
Okay, wait, Balto.
Channel, Sid, link to twitch.tv.
You know what? I'm just going to be careful, because I'm not finding where to set it to just regular. Okay, so what I'm going to do on the Warcraft Logs homepage, I'm going to go up to the top here where it says Zones. And I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click Hellfire Citadel. And then I'm going to go to Rankings.
Kevin's Christ enter channel.
And as you see, I went over to Shaman, Elemental Shaman. I'm going to look through there. I'm also going to change the region to US because I can't read Chinese or anything else. So in order for me to save sanity, I'm going to pick something that I can read. As you see, Rizzo's up here for the All-Star list at number 8. There's others that I can pick and whatnot, but I know he's consistently been very good. He's in a very good guild, and so that's why I'm going to pick him. Again, you can do this for any class you're going for. This is how you find people to compare yourself to and figure out what they're doing. Obviously, there's going to be some gear level differences. You can also adjust up here for item levels and pick people just of a certain item level bracket if you would like. That way you aren't, sitting there trying to figure out if it's just the gear or if you're doing something wrong. You can compare yourself to people in your same item level bracket. One of the things I'm going to look at is trying to find a log of his for this that is of similar time and whatnot. That way I'm not comparing something that's like minutes off. As you see, our kill on this one was 6 minutes and 39 seconds. So I'm going to look for something very close to that. which I'm going to go with the 6 minute and 47 seconds. It's a little different, but not too much. First thing I noticed is, let's see, he did 107,000 DPS, and I did 86,000. Let's find out why. So I'm going to click on my character name on the left, and I'm going to click on his on the right. This gives you the spell breakdown. So we're going to sit here and compare a little bit and look at it. My top damaging ability is Lava Burst for the entire fight. His top damaging is Flame Shock. So he made better use of his dot. As you can see, you can look on the right side here where it says, cast, hits, average, crit, and so on to figure out exactly what the spells are doing. I'm going to look over at mine real quick. One of the things with the Flame Shock, I got 20 of them off. He got 18. So he got less casts off, but he did more damage. And let's look at why. I have 24,000 damage a second, or average hits for my Flame Shock ticks, and he's got 30. So somehow his is hitting harder, but his is also critting more, if you look, about 4% or so more than mine. This could be just random, or from what I've gathered, I believe it's being affected by a buff that we both use that I've just not been utilizing correctly, which is Unleash Elements. I'll get into that in a little bit. I'm not going to give you a whole thing of Elemental Shaman, but this is the kind of stuff that you're going to look at to try to figure out, what am I doing right? If you look at the overall spell breakdown, though, it's very, very similar. I've got Lava Burst and Flame Shock, they're in the same spot. Our Molten Earth is roughly the same. But let's look at the cast again. He did 80... He casted Lava Burst 88 times, but only 86 of them hit. Something was probably dying, or whatever, so he casted it, but it didn't actually register the damage. Same thing happened to me. I cast 90, 88 of them hit. And again, you can look at the overall damage that they did. Mine was actually hitting harder, which, again, is probably due to the buff, because I was using mine to buff my Lava Burst. He's probably using his to buff his Flame Shock a little bit more regularly. It makes a difference, obviously, because his did a little bit more there, but yeah. One of the big things you will notice, though, in the spell breakdown, is Earthquake did more. So again, if you're doing your own right now, look for differences in your spell cast to somebody else on a fight that you're wanting to look at. Earthquake for me, I did 10 casts of it, which I don't think I actually did 10 in that fight. I'm not sure if Earthquake registers right or not. He did 30. Again, I guarantee you it's not registering right. It's probably counting each tick or something. I'm not sure. Maybe not. I could be wrong. But whatever the case, it's 8% of his damage. It's 4% of mine. So he's done, a crap ton more. Actually about double what I did. This could be because maybe they don't kill ads as much. Maybe I'm just bad at killing ads in our fight. I will tell you, in ours, I know our warlocks and everyone, our ads do not live for but 10 seconds, if that. So, let's see what he's actually doing damage to with it. If you look, his earthquake damage was done to Dreadstalkers, which is the dogs in this fight, more than anything. Which, mine did it more to a Deathcaller, and a little bit to Dreadstalkers, but not as much. Again, our Dreadstalkers normally die very, very quickly. So, this is where I can look and be like, okay, yeah, this probably makes sense. His are staying up a little bit longer than mine, so that's going to impact damage a little bit. And I'm backing on accident. But what I'm going to look at now is who did what to what character or what ads in this fight, because that's also going to play a part in it. Every time you go to switch targets, you're going to lose a little bit of damage overall, just because it's going to take you a second to target or whatever, and there's going to be maybe half a second to a second or so delay on if you're actually casting something or not on that target at least. It really will vary a little bit, and every time that you do that, a second is a long time. A half second's a long time. It may not seem like it, but it actually is. If you start thinking about it in terms of spells. Most spells in this game have about 2-second cast or so. If you lose a second, you've lost half of a spell cast. You do that twice, you've lost an entire spell that you will never get back for the entire encounter. So, again, backtracking a little bit. Raider mentality, time on that. If you're thinking about it in that sense, for how many casts you can fit in a fight, there is a limit